We're back on the early edge on CBS Sports Network, and Mike McClure joins the fray. We've got Mike, we got Danny, we've got Larry Hartstein, and we've got some passing props to start off the segment with. Mike, I'm going to start with you. How about your favorite passing prop for Monday Night Football?
A very rare interception prop, actually. See, I'm going to go Tua interception minus 112. Look, I think that this is a tough spot to walk into. I know that they've played well recently. It's still a hostile environment when you're talking about a Steelers team still on the verge of making the playoffs. When I look at Tua in this spot, though, I have to acknowledge the fact that Devon Achane is extremely beat up, in my opinion. There's the scenario where he's out at some point in this game and they're forced to throw the football, or if they fall behind. That, I think, is the recipe for disaster in these conditions here. So I'm going to be on Tua INT here, minus 112.
Larry, you're looking at Tua as well, but you're not looking. I mean, listen, he can throw an interception on 28 pass attempts, but you're actually looking at the under 28 and a half pass attempts here.
Yeah, and it's gone down to 27.5 at some books. I'm still okay playing it there. Even without TJ Watt on the field, they do not want to have Tua dropping back 35 times in cold weather. It's not going to be windy, which is a good, which is a plus for Tua, who doesn't have the strongest arm. But the Dolphins' success, this recent run of success, is all about the ground game. Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, even Ollie Gordon, that's their identity now. And he's thrown 23 or fewer passes in 4 straight. He's gone under this number in 6 out of 7. So unless they get down like 17-3, 20-3, I don't think they're going to abandon the run. And the biggest thing I like about this prop is both teams play slow, bottom 10 in pace.
Yeah, they both certainly do play slow. Danny, I'm going to go to Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to get your Aaron Rodgers play as well. I'm going to take his over 20 and a half completions. Now, at first blush, this doesn't look like a good play. I mean, he hasn't hit this in 3 of the last 4. But I do think the short area passing game is really going to shine here for Aaron Rodgers. And it's partly because this Miami rush defense has been very good as of late. Jaylen Warren has been downgraded to questionable. We'll see what happens with him. But either way, I don't think Gainwell and Jaylen Warren are going to be able to rush the ball super effectively. I see a lot of short area passing to the running backs, to the tight ends, and of course to the receivers as well. Give me at least 21 completions for Aaron Rodgers. Danny Brasco, you like Rodgers as well, but in a different market.
Yeah, I'm going to take him not to throw an interception tonight. And this is really just a play on the number. We're getting minus 125, which is about 55% implied odds. But Rodgers has only thrown an interception in 4 out of 12 games he started in this season. He has 7 picks on the year, but he threw multiple in a game. That doesn't matter for this prop. We just need him not to throw one here. I mean, it's only happened a third of the time. He's been a fairly responsible game manager. And the Dolphins, as improving as their defense is, they still are ranked very towards the bottom of the league in terms of takeaways. I think they only have 7 interceptions on the year, which is quite low. So I think Rodgers, like Sia mentioned, can stick to that short area passing game, lean on the run when they need to, and probably just look to kind of get into a rock fight with the Dolphins in a cold weather game. You're facing an outdoor opponent, or excuse me, an indoor opponent going to the cold outdoors. Put the game on your terms. Don't turn the ball over. Steelers have a shot to win this game. I don't think Aaron Rodgers throws a pick tonight.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Okay, we got to go to the rushing props. And it's funny because Larry and Mike, you two aren't like opposite each other, but you could make that interpretation that you are, although all bets can cash, right? Larry, I'm going to start with you. You liked Achane, but you don't necessarily like his rushing yard total. You like him to spring a long run.
Yeah, over 17.5 longest run, leads the NFL in explosives. And if Derek Harmon is not in there for the Steelers, last 2 weeks they've given up 466 without Derek Harmon. He also didn't play in week 1, and the Jets ran for nearly 200 yards against this Steelers run defense. So I don't need him to get 20 carries. I know he's got banged up ribs. I just need him to break a long run, which is what he basically does every week.
Mike, talk to me about Achane's rushing total under.
Yeah, going under 82.5. Personally, I think the injury is a big deal here. He's certainly going to be wearing additional protection there. It could be uncomfortable in this particular spot, but it's the cold weather. It's the Dolphins offense that I'm not ready to buy in. They've looked competent over the little stretch, but they've played very, very soft competition overall over the last few weeks. I think that this environment in the cold on the road in a very hostile environment in Pittsburgh, that is going to be difficult here. I think the other running backs get worked in just a little bit. And again, I think that there's a very real chance possessions are limited in this one. And we know the Dolphins run very slow pace. The Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, one of the best in the game at killing a clock. I think they do that often here tonight. Very limited possessions in this game.
Brasco, Mike McClure, professional transition, because he did mention that some of the other running backs for the Miami Dolphins are going to be involved. Your play and my play are the same, but I got to give you credit because you came up with it first. Talk to me about Jalen Wright.
Yeah, enter Jalen right into the picture. I love how Mike set me up here because that rib injury coming into a cold Monday night game is something to be concerned about. A-Chain looks like he's good to go, but Jalen Wright, after A-Chain went out of that game, Wright got 24 carries against the Jets, 100 plus rushing yards. They even targeted him 3 times. I mean, he clearly has entered the picture in this running back room. And it seemed to be that Ollie Gordon was the RB2 for a while early in the season, but he dealt with some of injuries of his own. He's more of a kind of a goal line or power back. I think down to down, Jalen Wright is the one that gets mixed in. He's gotten 5+ carries in only 3 games this season, but he's had 17 or more rushing yards in all of those games. So like Mike said, if he just gets worked in a little bit here, they're concerned about A-Chain's injury, I think he can get 20+ rushing yards, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if A-Chain is fully healthy, which we know he's not, but even if he plays a full complement, I think Jalen Wright could still hit this over, like not easily, but I would still like the play, even if A-Chain didn't have any sort of rib injury. Let's go to a receiving prop. Danny, I'm going to go right back to you because one thing I did focus on with the over 20.5 completions with Aaron Rodgers is the idea that he's going to be focused on the short area passing game. I think that's where they find their riches against this Miami defense. That short area passing game, well, it includes Jonnu Smith, it includes Pat Freiermuth, but it also includes Darnell Washington.
That's right. And I got to give credit to Prop Bet Guy and RJ White, 2 other SportsLine analysts who got this one in on the site. I saw it and I thought to myself, I got to tail this because the Dolphins have struggled against opposing tight ends. What do the Steelers do? They run some of the highest rate of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends on the field. And you mentioned their TE room, right? Freiermuth might be the guy. Jonnu might be the guy, but Washington's just this big body in the middle of the field that's fun to watch. I think in a primetime game, they look his way. Low receiving yards total, but I think he can clear 20 in this game.
Larry, you're the guy that's just going to be picking fights with everybody today, apparently, because you and I are actually opposite on this one. Like only one of us can cash on this one. I have DK Metcalf under 4.5 receptions. It's a little juicy, -127. It's as high as -135, -140 in some places as well. I just think 5 catches is probably just a bit too much for DK Metcalf. I see him getting to 3 to 4. I see the tight ends and running backs being heavily involved here as well. But Larry, talk to me about the other side of the argument because yours is more sexy. It's got plus money in front of it.
Yeah, you got good plus money for the only legitimate wide receiver that they have. He's cleared this in 3 of his last 4 games. It feels like over the last month when he's gotten 33 targets in the last 4 games, Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf have developed a better chemistry, and Aaron Rodgers has realized my other weapons are just not as good. I have to feed DK Metcalf, and some of those short area throws that will cash some of your props, Sia, could also help me cash this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, my official play on SportsLine, just to be super candid, is that completions prop. I certainly like all the plays I'm giving out, but what I really want is some completions, some short area completions, some efficient passing from Aaron Rodgers. And Mike, that's where you come in because now we're going to go to, what is it? Kenneth Gainwell over receiving yards.
Yeah, I like Gainwell over receiving yards. And frankly, as long as Jaylen Warren's out there on the field, I like his over on receiving yards as well. Just an extension of the run game. We've mentioned how this team is vulnerable to the tight end position. It's very similar to running backs in the receiving game. The one thing we know about Aaron Rodgers is he still wants to put the football in his hands as often as possible. And you can't blame him for a Hall of Fame quarterback like that. But I think that's what happens. I think it's still just short area passing, extension of the run game. Gainwell's probably going to have 7 to 10 targets in this game, just short area passes. I like him going over his number, but again, I would also play Jaylen Warren over, which is now down to about 12.5 because he's listed questionable with an illness. If he goes, I like both running backs over in the receiving game.
Absolutely love that. I should point out, Larry, in defense of your play at plus money on DK Metcalf, I believe it was the SportsLine account on Twitter and probably Instagram. Everybody out there, make sure you go follow SportsLine on social media. They tweeted out that it was DK Metcalf's birthday yesterday. I didn't fact check that, but I'm sure it's correct. So, hey, maybe he's on a primetime game. Maybe he's asking Aaron for a couple of more catches. So if you want to play that narrative game, how about a game or team prop? Danny Brasco, you don't usually come to the show with a field goal prop, but you did today.
Well, he's the best player on the Steelers offense, and that's Chris Boswell. You could trot him out from 55 in blizzard conditions. He's probably getting it through the uprights. And I really think this is going to be a field goal heavy game. We talked a little bit about the Dolphins improving defense, actually ranking top 10 in DVOA against the pass and rush over the last few weeks. So I do think they're going to be able to limit the Steelers and force them into field goal scenarios. When Boswell goes out there, it's all but in. I think, it's a little chalky of a price tag to lay for a field goal prop, but he's a safe, very reliable kicker, and I think he hits a couple this game.
Yeah, I mean, we thought Brandon Aubrey was a safe, reliable kicker yesterday, and he missed a couple of field goals. Granted, they always trot him out there from like 60 and just assume it's going to go in. Mike, you've got a first drive prop.
Yeah, going first drive punt on the Dolphins here, plus 105. I put the price point closer to 55%, meaning I was expecting to pay minus 120 for an opening drive punt. I think that they still clearly want to run the football. We'll see what Achane's able to do. I think early, though, if you're Pittsburgh, you're essentially stacking a box, forcing Tua to throw. I like this drive ending in a punt. I just think it's a cold weather spot. It's on the road, extreme hostile environment. It's very difficult to play in Pittsburgh. We know one of the most passionate fan bases. And the thing I would say about the cold, is it a big deal? Is it not? To me personally, when you have to make a big deal to have one single practice at half speed in the cold, you're essentially saying you're worried about the cold, in my opinion. So I think that we're looking at a slow start for the Miami Dolphins on the opening drive.
I feel like that was like very Psych 101, very sociology degree of Mike McClure. Not that that's what you got, Mike, at school, but it's a good point. I think it's a totally fair point. But Larry, still, you like some points for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going to cite the fact that the Dolphins flew to Pittsburgh early, practiced in the cold to get ready for Monday night as one feather in their cap, and getting over 19.5. That's a pretty low team total. We're not going to see any severe winds. We're talking about gusts of up to 15. That means the regular wind's going to be like 8 to 10. And Tua's issue is more with the wind than with the cold. This is a great matchup for their elite rushing offense against a bad run defense. And what I also like is the Steelers play man coverage at one of the highest rates, and Tua is top 5 against man coverage. He still has Achane. He still has Waddle. He still has enough weapons to get to 20 points.
All right, well, let's hope some of those points go to Darren Waller, because we're going to rapid fire first touchdown scores, and I'm going to go with Darren Waller at 13-1. Yeah, that's plus 1,300 on a big target for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, Jalen Waddle's probably going to be the first read most of the time, but I think Darren Waller is going to have some impact in this game, particularly when Miami is in or near the red zone. Give me Darren Waller as your first touchdown scorer. Danny Brasco, you get to go next with your boy, Jalen Wright.
I do. And see, I like that one because who also stinks against opposing tight ends is the Dolphins. Is the Steelers. So that's a nice one with Darren Waller. Jalen Wright, RB1 potentially now. If that injury flares up from Achane, he might be in the game early. I like him to find the end zone first at 28-1.
Mike McClure, it's tight end season.
Tight end season, revenge season. How about Jonnu Smith revenge game against the Miami Dolphins? Look, the Steelers do use the tight ends quite a bit. I think they schemed something up for him in the red zone here. Give me Jonnu Smith 20-1.
All right, and Larry, round us out here. By the way, we've got revenge season, we got birthday narratives, a lot going on Monday Night Football. Larry, talk to me about Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, give me Kenny Gainwell at 10-1. I mean, this is a guy who's getting more snaps, more opportunities than I think anyone projected. And now with Jaylen Warren's status in question for this game, I like it even more. He can score on the ground. He's done that 4 times. He's got 2 receiving touchdowns as well. Kenny Gainwell at a nice price.
Yeah, I like that play on Kenny Gainwell. All right, we got to decide where Danny, Larry, and Mike stand on this game against the spread, the total, maybe some more first half plays and game props. That is coming up next right here on the Early Edge. Who is going to cover the spread? What do we think about the total? Are there any first half bets or team totals that we like? We answer those questions right here, right now with Danny Brasco, Mike McClure, and Larry Hartstein. Larry, I'm going to start with you. I don't want to say I've been going back and forth on the spread here. I've been kind of leaning into the Dolphins. Obviously, it was plus 3.5. It's now plus 3 in that minus 105 range. It could tick right back up at some books. Let's just call it at plus 3. What do you like, Larry?
Yeah, I got to take the points with the Dolphins. This is a team that's won 5 out of 6. I know they haven't played a murderer's row, but they did have a very impressive win over the Buffalo Bills, racking up 7 yards of play in that game. And the last time the Steelers were at home, they were getting run over by the Buffalo Bills to the tune of 250 rushing yards. And now the Dolphins, that's exactly what they want to do. They just want to run the ball. They've been very effective. In that 6-week span, they are number 3 in net success rate in the NFL. They won't have to deal with TJ Watt. Jason Pierre is out. We'll see if Derek Harmon can go for the Steelers. I just think it'll be a tight game down to the wire. I'll take the field goal.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit about the Dolphins running clock for some of the props that I have out there, including that pass completions prop. Mike, how about the other side of the argument? Because I can tell you, I agree with Larry for the most part. I think if this was 2.5, it would obviously be a different story. But to get it at 3 and for it to maybe bounce up to 3.5 later today, I would certainly take that. But I still like the 3. But you like laying the points with the home team.
Yeah, I like the home team here. Kind of a classic pay to find out spot for me. We've seen this Dolphins team kind of struggle in cold weather, whether it be because they play great opponents in cold weather or whatever it is. I don't love the fact that their best player, Devon Achane, is dealing with a rib injury, wearing extra protection around that area and playing in these conditions, because I really think this is closer to a 3-win team if they remove Devon Achane from the equation. I think it's such a hostile environment playing on the road in Pittsburgh. We know one of the most passionate fan bases. So I like this spot to kind of pay to find out. I think the Steelers can ultimately do enough. Maybe it's just a classic 5 field goal game from Chris Boswell that separates things, but I'll pay to find out and see if the Dolphins can score in these conditions.
Danny, you know what Mike just said? He said you're soft for only taking the 1.5 field goals over on Boswell. He says ladder it up to 5. Either way, you got to settle the score here because you got 1 on the Dolphins. We got 1 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you say?
I low-key love that. I could see this being like a 19-16 kind of game.
Yeah.
I like the Dolphins plus 3.5. I bet this on Wednesday when the hook was still around, but you're seeing plus 3 available around minus 105. So if you want to play the alternate line or buy the hook up to say minus 120, 125, I really like that still because I think this Dolphins team has really, yes, like Larry mentioned, they haven't played a murderer's row, but they found their identity behind their rushing attack. They can kind of hide Tua Tagovailoa a little bit and let him do what he does, a lot better than airing and gunslinging it out when he's throwing those interceptions that lead to the Dolphins' demise. If they can beat up on the Steelers on the ground, they can control this game. A lot will be made of the Dolphins, the Miami team going into the cold weather. But the Steelers, you back them in these kind of voodoo Mike Tomlin spots last week to upset the Ravens in a crucial game for the division. Then they come into a much more winnable game this week, and that's when they let Steelers fans down. I feel like this is an ugly spot for them where a lot of people will back them, and you're going to see the bad version of the Steelers. The Dolphins quietly have really improved that defense. They were awful to start the year, and all of a sudden are a top 10 on both sides against the pass and against the rush and DVOA. So if Rodgers' hand's still hurting him in the cold there, the Steelers are running into walls and the Dolphins can actually stop the run. I think their rush attack wins this game or at least keeps them within a field goal. So I'll take the 3 in the hook. See ya.
Well, it better, like that rushing attack better be what we think it is, because you said something that really set me off, the hiding Tua thing. I mean, I've seen it lately. Like they have really had to hide Tua. And you're on the road in Pittsburgh. If they're stacking the box and forcing Tua to beat them, that could be an ugly night for him. And that, Mike, I see you're nodding your head, but also I remember you having the INT prop earlier in the show. I'm starting to love that one. Okay, let's go to the total. Mike, I'm going to let you kick things off. I think we're looking at 42.5. What do you like here?
Under or nothing here for me. See, look, we know 43, 44 key numbers. You're seeing this 42.5, like 23-20, always in play into the current day NFL. I still think 41 is the key number here, though. So I'm going to be on the under. I just think possessions are limited here. You talk about hiding Tua. You do that with the run game. The Dolphins extremely slow in terms of pace, but so are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, a true veteran at milking a play clock, particularly if they get any sort of a lead here. This is the kind of game where a 6-point lead might feel like a huge lead. So I personally like under or nothing in this game.
Danny, I'm with Mike on this one. How about you?
He said it. Slow pace of play, cold atmosphere, important game, run heavy teams. This one equates to, 41 kind of total. I think it stays under that key number. If it drops to 41, that's the lowest I would play it.
All right, Larry, let's transition to a team total or first half bet, because we're talking about points, we're talking about totals. you don't really have a play on the total, but you do have a play on the total as it relates to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I got to fire back on this notion that the Dolphins are going to show up and just be so intimidated by the fact that it's cold. The wind is not going to be an issue. The wind is going to be less than 10 degrees. Tua went to Green Bay last year, November 29th. It was very cold. 365 passing yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions, and a 56% success rate. So I think they can have plenty of success against the Steelers' run defense that has been very, very beatable lately. You get hot cider, hot chocolate, whatever you want. You're sitting on a warm bench. These are NFL athletes, and they did get there 2 days early to acclimate. Give me the Dolphins to get to 20 points.
I told you, everybody, Larry's picking fights with the whole show. And Mike, that includes you. What's the other side of the argument?
Yeah, just under 19.5 here. I get that 20 is a very key number, very achievable. I think the key number here for them is 17. I think it's a very low scoring game. I don't think that they're going to win in a shootout here personally. So I'm going to be on that team total under. I personally think that the Steelers just literally stack the box and give them one-on-one in man coverage. And if Tua can hit Waddle and have the big touchdown play, I think that may pull him out of it at some point. But I really think that Pittsburgh will commit to that and essentially do everything they can to stop the running game.
All right, I'm going to take the Dolphins first half plus 1.5. This is just a matter of, I think the Dolphins are going to be able to set some sort of tone early with their rushing attack. And if I'm playing the first half, I'm playing basically the notion that both teams are going to be holding the ball. This could be a tie game at halftime, but I think the Dolphins could have a lead potentially, but I don't necessarily expect the Dolphins to win this game. So I'll take the plus 1.5 in that minus 105, minus 108 range. Danny, talk to me about your play. And also, Larry brought up a question I think we all need an answer to. Hot chocolate or hot cider?
Ooh, hot chocolate all day. I'm not a big cider guy, but here's something I couldn't leave this segment without saying. The Steelers since 2017 have played 11 games without TJ Watt. They are 1-10 in those games. Their defense goes as he goes, and my handicap on the Dolphins money line plus 150 is as simple as that. No TJ Watt, I'm fading the Steelers.
All right, before we go to break, Mike, hot cider or hot chocolate?
Ooh, I'll lean hot chocolate. I want to bounce back a little bit, though, there. How about the Steelers' 22 consecutive wins on Monday Night Football at home? I'm not a trend guy at all. I think they're mostly garbage and meaningless. That one, to me, is hard to ignore because it's difficult to win primetime games.